It's good to see everybody today. Good morning. If you don't know me, obviously you do, some of you guys. My name is Jeremy Roberts. We'll be doing a speech today regarding divorce. Getting a divorce is not an option. It's not a choice. People are hurting from it every day. We need to change in our country, period. I've been divorced personally. I had a child through my previous marriage. I do not know how my bad choices are going to affect him because he is so young. But this topic really hits home for me. And I was redeemed from this situation and pain by my church friends and family who are here with me today. There were prayers, and through it all, divorce became a blessing. But it was for an appropriate reason. The article, The Impact of Divorce on the Family by Thomas Parrish, describes that in the last 50 years there were 2 million marriages and 1 million divorces. A staggering 50% rate that has been hanging over our heads way too long. What we as Christians will establish is a plan to come alongside people who are going through divorces and people who are in serious relationships. We want to be preventable but be supportive as well. The first point we'll be discussing is how we'll be prevented from divorce. The second point is how to be a comforting person to the divorced individual. And finally, the third point is to identify the problems of divorce to help us be aware of warning signs to look for from other relationships. Yes, sometimes it is okay to cross those type of personal boundaries. Again, I reiterate the main point one, that what we can do to prevent divorce, as Stephen L. Knock describes in his article, America's Divorce Problem, that there are too many people getting easy divorces. More counseling and a covenant marriage would prevent such easy divorces from happening. And you're probably wondering what a covenant marriage would be. It's an optional way to get married, and it requires a valid reason to become divorced. We can offer this option to couples today who want to be in serious relationships, and we can let them know about those type of commitments. We can also look for the warning signs as people. If there is a fight or dispute, regardless of your sex, come alongside one of them and ask, hey, if we could pray with them, if we can do anything to come alongside them and be spiritual regarding that, this will bring things more into focus and help them to understand how important their marriage truly is, especially under the Lord. If the argument is serious enough, we as people with God's help can be the ones to prevent this broken marriage. Which leads me to my main point too, and this is how to be a comforting person to someone going through this divorce process. Get the person plugged into a small group, just like this group, for example. Take the person out to lunch to help them understand how much they mean to you. Statistically, Theodore Kemper examines the divorce rate. There are natural ways that people are being preventive of divorce. There seems to be a strong comparison between the rate of marriages happening with divorce. In other words, Kemper is saying that if the rate of marriages coincide with divorces, then there really is no hurry to be married. We need to encourage couples in relationships, just take your time. And the final main point that I've got today, ladies and gentlemen, is that if we identify the problems associated with divorce, and I've got 2 sub-points along with that as well. The underlying problem is that there aren't enough people conducting their marriage under God. We need to consistently tell everyone that marriage is that type of binding commitment. Ashley Weeks seems to correlate a strong connection between divorce and occupation. In her study conducted, I quote this staggering analysis. And this kind of ties in with occupation. We look at somebody who's in a field of study, but there seems to be some problems between that and that relationship. And she quotes, and I quote, her quote, the present study goes further by pointing out that proportionately more couples in the low economic groups in their poor adjustment in the divorce court than do those in the high economic groups. Where Burgess and Cottrell found good adjustment, it is striking that 2 studies approaching the problem from opposite angles reach identical conclusions. So we look at 2 opposite angles of how 2 different occupations, and you think about those type of aspects and different personalities and everything that goes with it. And it really leads only to chaos and confusion. And that really hits home for me in a lot of areas, because you think about a guy like me, a preacher's son, who was married to a woman who, really had no spiritual background, had no elements of church and Christianity, and her occupation was a fast food job, of course. But for me, I always wanted to remain a strong work ethic, and there's nothing wrong with being in fast food, occupational wise. But when you look at somebody that's not consistent about their employment, it can just lead to a lot of problems, and especially when you don't have a firm foundation under God. In conclusion today, we can be really preventing divorce by bearing each other's cross. Tending to the hearts of other people is a true way we can help out each other's relationships. We see that there are staggering issues that take place. The real issue is, are we putting God first in our marriage today? So this is my call to action to everyone. If we see a need regarding a troubled relationship, we are to comfort one another. This is really a command, not a question, or not a suggestion. If someone is struggling and dealing with their hardships, we are to be there to pray and comfort them in their time of need, and just be the hands and feet of Christ. As we leave today, let us go out and think about the gift of marriage that God has given us, and how precious this love between man and woman really is. Divorce is hard on families, and especially children. Let's pray for marriages that are stable and broken alike, and everyone involved. Thank you.